Hi, welcome to Tuesdays with Terra. I'm Terra Bundance, and today I'm going to talk a little bit about codependency and the connection to being an empath or a highly sensitive person. And first, I'm going to start off with a breathing exercise that I just learned about, just discovered this week. And when I've shared it with others, some people have said, "Oh my gosh, it's the coolest thing I've ever seen." And others have said, "Oh yeah, that's been around for a while." So I'm just grateful to have it and to have learned it and to be able to share it with you here today. So it's a breathing technique that takes two hands. And when you take a finger on the first hand and start off on your pinky, you're going to breathe up, breathe in every time you go up, breathe out every time you go down. So I'm going to do this for myself. I'm going to do this exercise and you can join me if you will, if you like. So that breathing technique sort of incorporates the in breath and the out breath, of course, a calming energy, and it incorporates using your five fingers, which all contain different acupuncture and acupressure points at each point of your fingers, and then all the way down and all the way down. So all these areas contain acupressure and acupuncture points, and they connect with other parts of the body and especially the brain. And so, as we're taking those breaths, we're not only just calming our systems down, we're also connecting to all the organs and systems and meridians and chakras of our body through our five fingers. So, use that breathing technique anytime you are struggling, just personally, individually, in the car, if you're stressing out, having beginning to have the feeling of a panic attack. And also use it for children because it really helps them become very focused when they're able to look at their own hand and breathe as they're doing this exercise. It really helps to get them focused and in their bodies, in their minds, in their awareness of themselves instead of scattered out all over the place. So, next, I'm going to talk a little bit about being an empath, being a highly sensitive person, and how codependency and high sensitivity or empathy really kind of go hand in hand. You can be empathic and not highly sensitive, and you can be highly sensitive and not empathic. Usually, if you're empathic, you're also highly sensitive. But if you're highly sensitive, you're not necessarily an empath. Now, just kind of understanding the differences between these things is somewhat beneficial. So I'm not going to really go into a lot of detail about it, but I am going to talk about just some very general basic understandings that I've learned and that I can pass on to you. So being highly sensitive means that you could be just a sensitive person. And what that means is like you're sensitive to loud sounds, to strong smells, to certain textures, just energy in general, the people around you. Having too many people can create a sensitivity. And what that basically means is a person who's highly sensitive to sort of outside experiences, it generally means that they have to become aware of what their sensitivities are and to be able to communicate those sensitivities to others. So children just say, I don't like it, or too loud, or simply say what they're feeling and their discomfort. For adults, they can be very much in their heads around their sensitivity. They may be like, oh, this is uncomfortable, but then just push through and keep wearing whatever that item might be. Or they think, gosh, that's a really loud sound. I just can't handle it. I can't handle it. And yet somehow, for some reason, they force themselves to handle it. Smells, things that create like a jumpy energy, somebody who sort of comes out of nowhere and scares a sensitive person. that person may be called jumpy or too sensitive, or gosh, what happened? I didn't mean to scare you. But that person still has that feeling inside of being very sensitive to immediate energy, or things that are coming into their field that they're not prepared for. Could be arms waving around, could be things coming at them, and they're just very sensitive to that and very uncomfortable with that. So being a highly sensitive adult, or even young adult teenager, is a little bit harder to communicate about. Children just communicate. I don't like this. They yell or scream or cry, or cover their ears. They're very clear and specific about the thing that they don't like. As we get older and move into teenage and adult, and have school or work or pressures of family or friends that just say, oh, it's so weird how you do that, or that's why do you keep doing that. It's those are the kind of things that shut highly sensitive people down and tend to make them sequester a little away from the things that may cause those sensitivities, as opposed to just communicating, hey, I'm sensitive, and I really have a hard time with loud noises, or things that jump out at me, or things that wave around in my face. So I'm just going to let you know that, because my sensitivity may have certain reactions to those things. And that other person can make a decision. Oh, I'll be generous or kind, and understand your sensitivity and not do those things around you, or they'll take it somewhere else. So important to understand high sensitivity if you have it, or if you know someone who does. Being an empath can be slightly different, with a little bit of middle ground that blends and bleeds over into what you might call high sensitivity. So empathy, high sensitivity, similar, but not exactly the same. So empathy, or being an empath, generally means that you feel energy in a way that means that you may be picking up on someone else's sadness or frustration or joy or anger. And empaths tend to absorb energy from the spaces they're in. And so an empath, while an empath may be taking in energy and then feeling something based on what someone else is feeling, someone that's highly sensitive is picking up on energy, but it's usually caused by something, and they have a reaction to it. Another part of highly sensitive people is that they feel things that are coming. In other words, they notice and pay attention to energy that's going on around them and things that are happening around them, and they start making an assessment of what may be coming next. So in the animal world, a deer who senses danger a day before it comes, like a fire, they may not smell it yet, but they sense something different. And what is known about high sensitivity is that about 20% of the population, any population, 20% of women, 20% of men, 20% of children, 20% of animals, certain groups of animals, have this sensitivity. And generally speaking, because it's such a low percentage, the rest of the population either notices and pays attention and listens to that high sensitivity, or they ignore it because they don't understand it. So in the human world, people tend to ignore those that have a highly sensitive nature, who's picking up on things and might be saying, hey, y'all, I'm kind of feeling like something is coming. And the people around them are like, oh, that's just Terra being Terra. But once they get used to the individual who is generally very sensitive and also has been on most of the time, if not all the time, they pay attention and they listen. Whereas within an animal community, an animal will be highly sensitive and have that nature of like, oh, something's about to happen. Tsunami is coming, days ahead of time, and they leave that area. Fish swim deeper into the ocean. Animals go high to high ground. Oh, a fire's coming. Animals will move towards water, generally speaking, or again, to higher ground, or just further away. And when the animal who is sensitive, the small percentage, starts moving towards higher ground or moving towards water or moving out further into the ocean, the other animals follow because they know, okay, this one knows something's coming. We're just going to trust that. Whereas again, in the human world, people tend to not listen unless they've noticed that this person's been accurate a number of times. So the feeling nature of a highly sensitive person is someone who's very, very sensitive to the energies that are going on around them. And it's almost like they've got antenna that are spreading out from their bodies and going out and picking up what's out there. And so a highly sensitive person who's sensitive to sounds and textures and smells and things jumping out at them, those antenna are a lot more active, right? And then people, the highly sensitive people who are noticing things that are about to come down the pike, their antenna are active in a slightly different way. So as a highly sensitive person, you may have all of those things. You may have one of those things. You may have one sensitivity, but not another. You may be tuned into the energy of that's going on around you at that heightened level so that you can say, hey, let's move to higher ground. Or you may be very sensitive to sounds and nature and things that are going on around you that are uncomfortable to the body and mind. Again, coming back to being an empath. With an empath, they pick up on other people's feelings. They pick up on nature's energy. And when something's going on in their field, their energy space, that is sad or frustrating, or they might actually start feeling frustrated and sad themselves and not know why. So an empath is going to pick up on energy and pain. So they might be spending a lot of time with a particular person, and that person has a low back problem. And over time, then the empath starts feeling like, I have low back problems, when it's not maybe even theirs. It's someone else's, and they're just picking up on it so much so that they're taking on this feeling as if it's their own. So being that different, and yet again, similar, because it's all about energy and noticing and feeling into what is going on around you. If you're an empath and you notice something that's new to you, but doesn't seem like it's yours, I did another video a few weeks back that was called, Is It Mine? And so go back to that video because it helps you sort of tune into how to ask this question of, is this mine? And when you do, you can recognize the energy come or go away. And that helps you understand, like, definitely this is mine, or no, this is definitely not mine. I release this, I let this go, I cut the ties, and I give this back to the other person, but now I can support that person if they're open to support. So this is when we cross the line around codependency. So being an empath or being someone who's highly sensitive, you might notice other people who feel at a deep level, or you might notice people who don't feel, and you might feel bad for them. And so empaths and highly sensitive people tend to draw energy to them that needs help and support, because they're capable of recognizing, oh, this person's struggling, this person may be suffering, I need to support them. So as a codependent person, someone who really wants people to feel better around them, to notice them and to like them, and or to try and manipulate people to have a deeper connection with them. So codependency can go to the low vibration end of what it means to be an empath and a highly sensitive person. When we bring codependency into it, if I'm feeling something that someone else might be feeling, I think, wow, this person may be sad. How can I support them? But instead of offering support, I just start telling them what they need to do. Oh, I noticed that you aren't feeling well. Here's some things that I do. That person may not be looking for advice or suggestions or support or help. That person may not know how to accept help or advice or suggestions. And so codependency is when you cross a line of feeling someone else's stuff and then trying to fix someone else's stuff. So when you notice that you've been feeling things for some time, you notice other people's thoughts and feelings and energies or whatever, and then you happen to notice that people just seem to keep rejecting your help and your support, maybe it's because you're acting a bit codependent and you're not really asking if they want your help or support. So, a big thing for codependents in general, and especially codependents who are empaths or highly sensitive, is to get better at asking people if they really want your help or support or suggestions or advice. And if someone says no, trust them, walk away, or just being able to offer help by saying, if you would like some help or support or suggestions, I'm here for you. Reach out. And in that case, some people may actually call you and reach out and ask for support, and other times they may not. But then you're not extending all this information and all this energy and all this help and support that's not really needed or necessary or wanted, even or accepted. And you hold on to your energy. You're not trying to give it away as much. So, my best suggestions for recognizing being an empath is notice when you're feeling other people's pains or sorrows or sufferings or even joys and excitements, and ask your body, is this mine? Go watch that other Tuesdays with Terra video about, is this mine? And also to be very tuned in to your own energy and to say, like, if you're feeling that this is not yours, or if you're feeling someone else's stuff, to breathe through it using maybe this exercise that I showed at the beginning, or the 3 breaths that take you to go to gratitude so that you can get more grounded and centered into your own body. And then cut the ties, cut those ties that are not yours to things and feelings and experiences that aren't yours, because you don't need to walk around with other people's stuff. And then as a highly sensitive person, being able to let people know, I'm very sensitive to these things. Or when you feel something and people aren't listening around you, find the people who do listen and let them know, hey, I'm noticing that this thing is coming, or I'm noticing that these things are happening, and I'm feeling something around this. To communicate that with people who trust you, with people that you trust, to communicate that with people who really understand where you're coming from, as opposed to trying to convince or talk other people who may not understand that kind of sensitivity. Then just move on from that. That's okay. And also for any sensitivities that you have to physical things, to noises and loud sounds and jumping out and scents and smells and things, to communicate that with people as well, and just say, I'm so sensitive to these things, and it's okay for me. I'm happy to remove myself from this situation. I just need to let you know that this is why. And it's nothing personal. And then beyond that, to codependency, recognizing that when you want to help others too much, or to the point where you're offering help and they're not accepting it, that's not where you need to go with this energy. If you're sensitive and you want to share this with someone else, you let them know what you're feeling, and then you ask them, is there anything that I can do to support you? Is there anything that I can do to, help out? Or can I offer any suggestions to support your process? Things like that. Because basically, as a codependent person working on your own healing process, you don't want to have that energy of feeling like you always need to help others, because it's not your job, it's theirs. And just because you know it doesn't mean you have to share it. But if it feels right for you to ask others if they're interested in your help or support or suggestions or advice, then that's okay. Go ahead and ask them. And if they say no, believe them and remove yourself from the situation if it's uncomfortable for you. So, this is my share today on Tuesdays with Tara. If there's any questions or you have any thoughts around the things that I've shared today, please share those in the comments. Please reach out to me. And then if there's anything else that you would love to hear more about, please also let me know that in the comments below. Have a blessed and beautiful day. I'll see you next Tuesday on Tuesdays with Tara.